So on the issue of illegal immigration, I think most of us support and adore the ideal of immigration, but very much oppose its being illegal. I did want to clarify the senator's record. I wasn't clear on her statement the other night on Governor Spitzer's plan, but her record on immigration is, in March of 2002, Senator Clinton co-sponsored a bill to extend the deadlines by which illegal aliens living in the U.S. would be required to obtain a visa. In October of '03, she favored granting temporary protected status to illegal Haitian immigrants. In September of '04, she co-sponsored an agricultural jobs bill offering illegal farm workers a speedy path to citizenship. In the wake of Hurricane Katrina, she co-signed a September '05 letter asking Homeland Security Secretary Chertoff to prevent the deportation of any illegal aliens whose immigration status had become clear after they sought federal assistance. You mentioned that you support the Real ID Act. Well, in 2005, Senator Clinton opposed the Real ID Act, which stipulated that all driver's licenses and photo ID applicants must be able to verify that they are legal residents of the United States. It also contained provisions to prevent terrorists from abusing asylum laws and to streamline the deportation of immigrants convicted of terrorism-related offenses. She opposed the Real ID Act. In June of 2007, Mrs. Clinton voted against a bill that would have prohibited illegal aliens convicted of serious crimes from gaining legal status. That same month, she voted in favor of the Immigration Reform Act of 2007, which would have provided a path of legalization to all illegal aliens residing in the U.S. Again, we're still waiting for a clear answer on whether she supports or opposes driver's licenses to illegal aliens in New York.
Very, yeah, sure. Very brief reply, then.
Sure. There are other problems and other things mentioned in the Real ID Act that I don't have time to go into. If the position here is that we want to somehow ship back 11 million people that are in this country illegally, I think it would eat up our entire Homeland Security budget. And almost every Democratic candidate has made clear that there needs to be a balance between holding people accountable here, making sure that they follow the law, and that people here who are here, have good jobs and have an employment history, versus those who just seem to mysteriously think that we can just snap our fingers and 11 million people are gone. That's not going to happen. I can also very simply tell you from dealing with anyone who deals with regards to this particular community, that some of these people who are in some ways have come here, whether seeking asylum or otherwise, turn out to be some of our best citizens. I would even point out that my fiance, who was born in Guatemala, came here fleeing political prosecution, and because of some problems, originally was in the country illegally for a very short period, but managed to get their paperwork in order. It's just ridiculous for the xenophobic approach that you're seeing the Republican Party put forward.
That's good.
We have to be able to, it's just not, okay, it's a xenophobic approach. I understand the difference between illegal, you're not going to be able to get rid of 11 million people overnight. It's not going to happen.
All right, so
Sure.
no. Now, Andrew, you have a question for Larry.
Certainly. This organization worked very hard to pass AB 221, yet it is President Bush and Richard Shelby who is holding up the enactment of the legislation on the federal level. How do you justify, one hand calling for action against Iran, but the other hand taking away our ability to put forth all of the best tools of diplomatic and sanctions that we could use in order to resolve this problem?
So I'm very happy that AB 221 passed unanimously in the Assembly. It was sponsored by our friend, Republican Assemblyman Joel Anderson from San Diego. A lot of us worked with him. It was signed by our Republican governor. And it's great that we work together across party lines on Sudan and Iran divestment. The president has proposed increasing sanctions, many of which Democrats have opposed. The president supported the Kyle Lieberman amendment. Many Democrats opposed. That's the amendment which would give the president the authorization to consider the Iranian Revolutionary Guard a terrorist state. It was the Democrats, the Webb Amendment, which wants to limit the president's actions regarding Iran. The president subcontracted out diplomatic efforts and sanctions efforts to the British, the French, and the Germans. They're supposed to be the experts in international diplomacy. They're the Europeans who know how to discuss with everybody. Didn't get very far. Iran is definitely a revolutionary regime, which is emboldened by the irritation of the world with them. Iran wants to have a nuclear weapon for many reasons, for the status of its regime, as an umbrella to create a Shia revival in the Middle East, to intimidate. You talked about in your opening statement the failures of Iraq. One of the successes of Iraq, and there are many, besides stopping the checks of $25,000, which went to the families of homicide bombers blowing up Jewish children in Israel by Saddam Hussein, was that we now actually have, with our 140,000 troops in Iraq, a buffer against Iranian hegemony in the Middle East. So it happens to be, this is an area where we seek bipartisanship, which is divestment from Iran. The Republicans have a pretty good record on confronting and divesting from Iran.
That's funny because the bill is still held up in Senate on the hold per the request of President Bush, probably because he doesn't like to stand up to the oil industry, which is who would be affected by this. I would also point out that at the same time, companies such as Halliburton continue to do business with the Iranian government, and we have yet to hold them accountable either. So it is one thing to say you oppose what is happening with Iran, but then you don't give them all the tools. It's very different. It's, again, the action is not meeting up with the rhetoric.
You get the quick report.
okay.
No,
All right.
okay. All right, then I've got, first audience question, and it's directed to Andrew. Why do the Democratic candidates for president seem to be reluctant to use the term Islamofascism? Don't they realize that Islamic fascists are the enemies of both Israel and the U.S., or are they simply being politically correct?
I think part of it has to do with the fact that there's been efforts by neoconservatives to control the language in this country.